What's happening, film friends? David the Film Junkie here, bringing you my very first spoiler review. I asked you guys, should I start diving into that swimming pool of spoiler reviews? You know, you do the original, try to keep it spoiler free. Should I do spoiler talk? And some of you said, yes, fucking do it. So here I am. We're going to do it. And my first movie, of course, being X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, if you saw my original review, you know I love this movie. You know it's on the wall. Obviously, that indicates that this movie was great. I really enjoyed it. It was just really fucking cool, man. And now we're going to talk about spoilers and everything like that. And I guess the huge thing about this movie is it does fix what a lot of crap that we did, a lot of the shittiness that we did not like in the previous movies, especially X-Men The Last Stand. My opening in the X-Men review was like, yeah, Bryan Singer said to Brett Ratner, fuck you, because basically we all know what happens at the end is that he goes, hey, I'm just going to alter the timeline and we're going to have like a whole new franchise, which... but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So it starts off post-apocalyptic-ish future. You got these sentinels just hunting down mutants and just slaying them. They're not captured. I mean, they do show, like, they show people almost like in, like, these camps, and they got these fucking weird shits, like, on the back of their head. But, and they, you know, there's, like, of course, voiceover and everything talked about from, of course, Xavier, and they're saying that mutants are now slaves and everything like that. But, man, these other sentinels that are going after the really cool mutants, they're out to fucking slay them. You got Bishop, you got Iceman, you got, what's her name? Ellen Page. I forgot what her character's name. You got them running around, you got a couple of the other ones I'm not too familiar with the mutant names, but they're running around, they're all using what was really great about this opening battle sequence is that they're all utilizing their powers just, like, kind of perfectly, you know? You got Ellen Page handling Bishop and just helping him run through walls, and then you got that teleportation chick just, like, diverting stuff, and it just was an awesome scene. But then you got the mutants that we do know, which is, of course, is Xavier, it's Magneto, it's Wolverine, it's Storm. You know them, you know who they are, so it's like, okay, we're familiar with these guys. How is it that now, because at the end of the Wolverine movie, of course, we saw that scene where Xavier just magically has come back, and we know that he magically came back in X-Men Last Stand because of that little secret scene where he magically put his consciousness into, like, a dying man or a hospital. I don't get it. But we just accept that he's back, okay? And we also accept that even though at the end of the Wolverine movie, when Wolverine got his claws knocked off by the Silver Samurai, he somehow doesn't have the bone claws back. He has the adamantium claws. Thank God, because those bone claws are fucking ugly. So they utilize this whole time travel thing. Ellen Page's character, I didn't know she had this ability, but she could just send somebody back like a few moments back in time, so then they could just be a step ahead of these Sentinels. And, well, you know, now they have to go further back because they got to get rid of this whole Sentinel problem in the first place. And I found that to be cool, that this one key moment in time, this one historic event that happened, which is Mystique killing Trask, has just set off this whole wad of a goddamn thing. They get her blood, so therefore they utilize her blood. They put it into the Sentinels, making these Sentinels just unstoppable, which you kind of get thrown off when these Sentinels are fighting like the other mutants. All of a sudden you see them like utilize their powers. If they touch like what's his name, Colossus or anything, and all of a sudden the whole Sentinel turns silver or everything, and you're going, why do these Sentinels have these really cool abilities? Then you find that out that they got the DNA of Mystique and they utilize that within the Sentinels, so therefore making them pretty much indestructible. So in order to go back in time, in order for her to just be able to do that, they do, and this is why like a lot of people are like, oh man, it's always Wolverine, but it had to be Wolverine this time, because in order to send somebody back, like their consciousness, that far back and not get pulled apart by wormholes or whatever, Wolverine's the only man that could do it, obviously, because he can heal. So he could stay like that. And, you know, because a lot of people thought, well, why don't just Professor X do it because of his mind and everything like that? But they do kind of do something with that. So Wolverine has to go back to 1973, and that was a pretty cool scene where, I mean, it's very much a fish out of the water scenario, because he's kind of like remember what it was like back in 1973, which was kind of cool. They had the era just really mapped out well, and of course, yeah, we don't get the shiny shing, we get the bone claws that look like they have knuckles on them. But I mentioned that in my original review, like how like Wolverine had to be more tame. He had to like hold back that anger, that rage that is within him, that beast that inside him. because he's got to get the team back together, okay? So therefore, he has to just go, he has to go to Professor X, and that like kind of threw everybody off too. I love how this movie really throws everything off, because you're going like, why is that? And then 10, 15 minutes later, you go, oh, that's why. Because when you first see young Xavier, James McAvoy, I think I'm saying his name right, I hope so, he's walking, and you go, what the fuck? You kind of get thrown off. You're like, wait, how is he walking? And then you also hear before he travels back from the Patrick Stewart Xavier, that I didn't have my powers then. You go, wait. You had your powers like 10 years before that, buddy. But then you realize that, okay, what's his nuts? The guy who plays Beast. Man, I should have just like looked up the names, actual names. The guy who plays Beast has created that serum that kind of like dormants that mutant gene. So therefore, if young Xavier shoots it up, and he's like a freaking drug addict in this one, he gets his legs back, but he loses his power. So he's just like a mess. He's got like the long hippie hair, the beard. He's drinking a lot. He's shooting up. I mean, like tying and just. I mean, he is just a junkie in this movie. And then of course you got Beast, who is also using it too to keep his, blue furball fur down within. He's just totally just being reluctant. And I love how he said to Wolverine, I'm going to tell you what you told us when we tried to recruit you in first class. Fuck off. He actually said, go fuck yourself. But it's okay, Xavier. We'll forgive you for that. So once he gets Xavier on board, we have to get Magneto on board too. We got to bring him together so they could stop Mystique from doing this one assassin job, this killing Trask. So what they got to do is they got to break Magneto out of the Pentagon, essentially. He's locked deep underneath. It's made of complete concrete. He can't do anything. So then Wolverine, they didn't really explain this part, but he goes, I know a guy who could probably do it. And well, it's Quicksilver, which, like I said in my actual review, he steals the show. I mean, the way that they shot that scene, I mean, even in the beginning where he's going back and forth and he's talking really, really fast, he's just like such a quirky character, but he's talking really fast with fast dialogue, and he's pickpocketing, going, hey, yeah, you're not part of the FBI, what's going on? Really just great. And then, of course, once they get to the Pentagon scene, I mean, everything just slows down. It's all bullet time shit, and he's just normal speed. He puts the headphones and the goggles on. You're like, all right, that's why he's wearing goggles. Duh. And he's just kind of running up the walls, and his face is kind of going because he's just going through. You're hearing the music that he's playing, and I mean, it's cool because at first Magneto like starts going like he's gonna do something and just kill everybody with like knives and shit. So everything's like up in the air while these guys are shooting. So he's going around and he's like, oh, I'm gonna push that plate that way at you and then at you. And then there's like a guy who's like holding his fist. So he grabs a guy's fist and puts it right here. So then he's just gonna fucking punch himself. And then of course he diverts the bullets and everything like that. And of course to everybody else it was just like in an instant. But as soon as like time goes back to normal, everything just goes. Oh, that scene was so pleasing, and I just kept thinking, where's the Flash movie? Like, where's the Flash movie? And it was even funny, too, when he got Magneto out of the prison. He was, like, holding his head. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, this is just going to help for you not to get whiplash. There's a whole big, nice... He's just a quirky character, and I loved him. They also poke at it, too, and a lot of people went, Because if you know the comic books, Quicksilver is actually Magneto's son, and there's like a little reference to that when Quicksilver goes, oh, you can play with metal, huh? My mom knew a guy who can play with metal. Boom, right there, but that was pretty much it. It was pretty funny. I dug it. And then you wonder, like, okay, why isn't Quicksilver joining them if he's got this ability? They could really utilize that. But then again, that would have probably just been like, hey, just have Quicksilver just do everything, and that'll be that. So they leave Quicksilver. He's only in it for that one scene. I thought it was enough, just like I said, they didn't need him for everything. He had a memorable scene, perfect, move on. So then they finally track down Mystique, and this is a very intense moment when they're in the office, and then of course we see a young Stryker, a young William Stryker, which we all know who that is. He's the one that gets Logan, gets the adamantium. But anyways, that whole scene where where Mystique's about to kill Trask, and then they stop her, and then Magneto, just being Magneto, he doesn't think things through. He just acts on pure impulse. He grabs the gun in his Magneto way, and he's just aiming it at her, and he's like, I gotta do this. Sorry, you sexy blue biatch. But of course, the tension's diverted, but as that's happening, Wolvie is going berserk because basically when he's doing this time travel thing, he's still in the present, but his mind's in the past. So he has to keep a clear mind. He can't, it's got to be calm. That's why he's calm through the whole thing. But he sees the tag, Stryker, William Stryker, and he starts remembering all the shit, and you start seeing like the Wolvie origins and him just getting all the shit. And you see like the younger version, you see the X2 version of William Stryker, which was really cool. So he starts going ape shit, and then he loses his memory for a little bit. He's back to like the normal like Wolverine. He's not like the future Wolverine anymore, and you almost go, oh shit. Then he gets it back. Mystique goes out the window. She gets shot in the leg by, of course, Magneto. He goes chasing after her, and there's a whole big scene that gets captured on the cameras, which is really cool. It's like raw footage of all the shit's going on. You see Beast just like going after Magneto, and then, of course, Magneto gets away from everybody. So now the group is split. You got Magneto doing his own thing. You got Mystique still out there, still having, just revenge on her mind. And then you got the other guys trying to stop everybody now. And then we get to the epic, like, third act where Magneto just goes, you know what? I'm gonna show everybody what I can do. He lifted up a submarine in first class, but this time he's gonna tear up a fucking stadium as well as control these Sentinels, because he breaks into where all the Sentinels are, and he like wires them up with metal so then he could control them. Smart guy. So then he just brings up this ring of the Washington Stadium and then just brings it over. And you go, and I was like, for a minute there I was going, why the fuck does he need to do this? This to me is kind of not making sense. But then you realize, oh, okay, just because he puts it right on the White House lawn, trapping everybody. Okay, I get it now. Trapping everybody while the event is happening where they're unveiling the Sentinels. And we also got Richard Nixon, an actor who plays Richard Nixon who does it very well. I love how they keep like the actual historic timeline of what we know back there. And even like the whole magic bullet thing, they make fun of that Magneto is the one that made the bullet curve, which he did. But he claims he was saving him. But then, I swear, the dynamic between Xavier, the young Xavier, and Magneto, Fassbender and I can never say his name right. It's pretty damn good because they both have an agenda. They both have the same agenda. They just take it differently because it seems that Magneto is always just like, he's always losing friends. There's always like a battle going on with him. But when it comes to Xavier, he's always just more subtle. He tries to be more peaceful about it. So you can almost see both sides. Like when they're arguing, like there's a scene on the plane where after they've rescued or after they've broken Magneto out of the Pentagon prison, there's like a scene on there where they can't forgive each other, and like Magneto goes like batshit and almost crashes the plane, which is a very intense scene. It's just like you can almost see, like you could see where they're both coming from, which is what I thought was kind of cool about the story. So then we get to the very end, and Mystique, she's about ready to do it, but she all of a sudden just calm comes over here because obviously Xavier, he's like on the ground, he doesn't have his legs again, and he's almost trapped under some of the debris from that stadium, and he's talking to her. I mean, it's a very intense scene, and she finally goes, okay, no, I won't do it. Just letting everybody know that mutants can be good guys. But at the same time, Magneto's still being a dick, and Wolverine's trying to stop him, and he like gets him wrapped up in this fucking wire shit, stabbing them all through, and sends them off into that little river that's in Washington, or lake or pond or whatever the fuck it is. And so we go back to present day. I mean, of course, as this is happening, they show the dramatic scene of the Sentinels finally finding where everybody's at. You see Storm just get freaking you see Colossus, that's what his name is, right? The metal dude, he gets ripped apart. I mean, Iceman gets his head ripped off. I mean, it's pretty intense, but I thought that was pretty cool because it's like, okay, these mutants don't always win. Then all of a sudden, right at the last moment, when Professor Xavier, Patrick Stewart version, is like looking at the Sentinel as they broke in, Magneto's already been stabbed, and he's like, oh, I'm fucking dead, I don't give a shit. And Sentinel's about to do it, and then all of a sudden everything just quiet. And the next thing you know, Wolverine's waking up. He's like, what? Kind of like similar when he traveled back to 73. He's like waking up, like what? And we see like this really cool like hologram clock, and all of a sudden he's back in the Xavier mansion. What? He starts walking, and he's seeing kids and shit, and it's like, wait, everything. It's very much a Marty McFly and Back to the Future moment. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but this could be good. And as he's walking, you see Storm like teaching a class or something. You're going, wait a minute. Then all of a sudden, in the distance, in a doorway, you see a girl with red hair. A woman with red hair. Is that Jean Grey? It's fucking Jean Grey! She's alive, and of course he's like, Jean, what the hell? And as he's like about to like give her a hug or something like that, you see an arm go, and you go, whoa, 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 whoa. And it turns, and there's fucking Cyclops, man, with his newly designed glasses. And I think everybody in the theater went, yes! Cyclops is back, because I think that was a big gripe of X-Men 3. One of the biggest is like, they killed off fucking Cyclops. So then he goes and talks to Professor Xavier, and he's acting normal, like, isn't there a class you have to teach about history? And then he goes, well, I need to be reminded of history. And then all of a sudden, Professor X goes, oh, Logan, you're back, because he remembers the Logan from 1973, and he goes, well, we got a lot of catching up to do. Boom! Fuck you, Brett Ratner. But you know what? At the same time, he also wiped out the storylines of all the other movies. It's almost like this movie, it's almost like First Class was like a reboot. But then they were thinking, well, we still got these other movies that are pretty recent. What should we do about those? And Bryan Singer and his writers went, well, we could just fucking write it all off. But the only questions we have, because at the very end, they go back to 1973, and they fish out Wolverine from that lake or pond, or whatever the fuck it is, and he's still alive naturally. And then you see William Stryker go, oh yeah, I'll take him in. And then you think, oh, well, there you go. But then he turns, and it's a very Thriller Michael Jackson moment where his eyes turn into those yellow eyes, and of course it's Mystique. So then you go, well, what's gonna happen with that? Did Stryker not end up getting him, or he just does the whole thing? What the hell goes on? I don't want to see those bone claws in the next movie. I guess time will tell, but that was a nice little haul. That was pretty cool. And then of course we have the secret scene at the end. We all knew what was going on. If you kept up with current events, we know that the next X-Men movie is going to be called X-Men Apocalypse, and of course Apocalypse being the main villain. You see, like, it's in the desert, Egypt, everybody's going, and then you see this dude just doing this crap, and he's like making a pyramid, which, obviously, if you really think logically, human beings did not make those damn pyramids. Maybe it was this dude that was just constructing it and everything like that. And in the distance, too, you see the 4 horsemen. Some people might have missed that, but you see 4 guys on horses, indicating that that's the 4 horsemen, and is part of the origin, or part of the mythos of the Apocalypse character. A lot of people are complaining too that he's kind of a small dude. He's wearing like robes, and he's not that big, and he's supposed to be huge. I don't know why people are griping at that. It was just one little scene. Who knows what's going to happen in the actual movie? But anyways, that was pretty much it. I mean, I kind of just ran through the whole thing. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but let me know what you think about it. Again, down below. You want to talk about certain things, maybe things that bugged you about it now that we're doing a spoiler talk, I think certain unanswered questions are kind of going, what the fuck's going to happen with... I don't want to see bone claws anymore. So let me know down below, and also hit that like, thumbs up button if you'd be so kind. Subscribe to my channel if you have not already. And visit FilmJunkie.com for your latest movie news, trailers, and film reviews. Well, I am David, the Film Junkie, and this has been my very first spoiler review of X-Men Days of Future Past. Wow. That's pretty cool. I think I'll do this for the big movies from now on, guys. Appreciate the feedback, and appreciate, letting me know, hey, I should do a spoiler talk. You guys are awesome. I'll talk to you later.